Welcome into another episode of Cheat Code Weekly, where we discuss everything video game collecting and investing. I am, of course, Greg, joined once again here by Henry. Heritage Signature Auction has come to a close. 374 video games auctioned off over the course of 2 days for a grand auction total of $2.796 million. I'm pretty sure Hopper was saying, he put together some stats, Game Gallery, you guys probably see him on Instagram, that this is the highest auction total ever since 2023, sorry. The highest auction total we had. There was also 374 games is massive. This was a very big auction, which also led to very big grand total. So interesting to see if the results were or weren't in line with expectations, which is what we're going to talk about a lot more here. This was a massive auction with a ton of selection, which could have played into the results. But for this auction, the signature auctioneer, this analysis we're going to do, this is the high end of the market. Basically a $1,000 minimum and then above. We're going to talk about stuff $50,000 and above. We did our predictions there for basically games that were all $10,000 and above, I believe, for the highest end market. We'll talk about those predictions too in just a second here. But if you are dealing in the $1,000 to $1,000 range, or maybe you primarily buy on eBay, you're going to have different experiences. You may have different perceptions of what the market is right now. So definitely let us know as well if that is where you go. Like, drop your perceptions down in the comments. Let us know what you're seeing out there. And we're going to talk about the high-end Heritage Signature today. If you want to get into the next Heritage Signature auction, it's coming up in August. You can consign over there. You got lots of time still. I think consignment deadline is in July. So if you want to get into the next August signature auction, the best games, the rarest games, the most expensive games, video games at ha.com, you can reach out. Huge thanks to them sponsoring my channel, this video, and let's get into this here. On the estimates page we made there, Henry, I tallied up the totals. I was overweight on every single game that was being sold except for one, the Scoon. That was the one game I missed there. And I was overweight by 22.64% on every estimate I made. You were underweight on 3 games, so you did better in that respect. You had more realistic expectations. Yeah, more realistic. But with that said, you were still 17.5 over on your estimates where you were over percent was. So in saying all of that, you know, the Legend of Zelda TM 9.4A plus, we both missed. I missed it by 125,000. You missed it by 50,000. The Mario Bros 3, I missed it by 64,000. You were over by 50,000. Like, the serious numbers, big misses on those. Now that we're sitting here, right? We are through the auction. Were we missing something? Is it obvious in hindsight that we were both too heavy? Did we have too much hopium? Why did we both come into this overweight on a lot of the high-end grails?
Because the previous signature, we felt like there was some momentum going upwards. The previous signature also didn't have the selection of games and in the selection of high grades as this signature had. So we thought like, whoa, if people are gonna pay, was it 85,000 for a 9AA plus plus Sandshrew Red? Maybe the 99 is going to be, over 6 figures. I think both of us expected over 6 figs. So, and then with all these other, like, you get the red text blue, and like, I think the sheer amount of big games that all came out at once definitely was a detriment. Because I think in this hobby, it's pretty obvious that we don't have enough, like, big whales to eat up all this supply. And when all of it comes out at once in one signature, we're just capped out at the 2.5 to $3 million range, no matter what type of game comes up. You would need literally someone else to come in. You would need someone else to come in from a different hobby or like a new participant with lots more money than the people who are already in this space.
Yeah, when I mentioned the 374 games, right, in this signature auction, and you talk about so much coming up all at once, I'm pretty sure the last signature we saw where we were seeing some good day one results and, filled us with hopium, apparently, it was like 200 items. So we had, that's almost 2x, I believe. It might have been under 200. I wish I had the exact number now, though. I'll put it on during editing. But this was, by all accounts, a massive, massive, massive signature auction. I actually think the Red Text Blue was one of the best performing games. It broke over 100,000. Yeah, I was only off by 1%. That was my best guess. I almost pinged that thing right on. So if I'm overweight on everything else by 20 some, Red Text Blue lived up to every expectation I had for it, which was surprising to see.
Well, the reason why is because none have come out in this high grade before, right? 9A plus plus. There were 9.6A plus pluses and 9.4s and 9.2s, but never in the
I
9.8
don't think the
condition.
9.8 even existed prior to this auction.
Yeah, I don't think it existed either. So,
But okay, right? You can say that, but we can talk about Left Bros. That was the first 9.6A plus. The Zelda was the first 9.4A plus that came up. Like some of these other games here that did fall short of our expectations. That's 9.9A plus plus Red. If you believe in the 9.9 being a premium, those were all the highest grade that we had come to auction.
yeah, but Reds they just come up every single auction, right? So that's definitely like, maybe there's fatigue going on there. The same thing with the TM we talked about. The left rows I definitely do think like surprisingly underperformed. We were both way over it,
Yeah,
right?
we were
Like
both over
by
by like
50K,
50K.
60K.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was surprising. And then, but I feel like maybe the people who are just at that level, they can just only buy so much. They can't gobble up every six-figure game, right? We're not dealing with sports cards people who can, spend $10 million in the auction, no problem.
And I think
Um,
maybe that is, where we are coming in overweight so much is we make too much parallel comparison to that of comics, to that of sports cards, where we see
yeah.
sales of 100, 200,000, $1 million, whatever it is. And it feels like money is truly infinite and the number of participants is truly infinite. Uh,
Yeah.
we might be making too much parallel analysis where games truly, especially at the super high end, man, it's not many buyers. Like you said, the air's thin up there. Perhaps we just need to reevaluate that. I think I need to myself, especially here.
Yeah, I think at the high end especially, but I mean, people have been telling us that sales on eBay have been very good. There's always new bidders buying. People are even buying $1,000 CIBs of not super crazy games like 9.2 CIBs. So stuff is moving on eBay. People are buying stuff. It's just I don't think we have enough people to gobble up the six-figure games. But
Yeah.
everything around like the $1,000 to $5,000 range, maybe that's where most of the people play in
I want
this
to talk
hobby.
about that segmentation a little more in just a bit here. Because just going to the supply, right? Are we seeing too much supply come out of these highly desirable games, say your Contras, Pokemon's, Mario's, whatever it is? Do we have new high grade copies hitting market much faster than we have new entrants who want to purchase these games or who even can afford to purchase these games at, say, $10,000 plus? Look at Contra, right? Contra is a good example. I think it was a 9.48 plus that just sold at last signature. It is showing weakness auction over auction now. Contra was one that blew up very early in the bubble, in the hype. I think 9.4 was like $20,000, maybe even more. It's hard to remember some of the older prices, but Contra was like on top. And now we're seeing Contra even show a little bit of weakness across. Are we simply getting too many high grade copies of these versus the expansion of the hobby? What do you think about that?
I think it's pretty clear that if one or two people don't come to play, everything plummets. I think that's really what it is. I don't think it has any correlation with anything else. I think you just need more market participants. And I've
But
always been
you're
saying that.
saying one or two people here. So
Yeah.
am I putting too much emphasis on hobby growth when really we just need a new whale? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, you can grow your hobby as much as you can. Apparently, eBay is doing really well, but those people on eBay are not going to be able to afford 50K games. Like games that are over $50,000. You literally need a whale to eat that up, right? Regular hobby growth takes time. Right?
Well,
Of course, you always want more participants, and eventually they'll grow up
well,
to like
do they?
maybe consolidate.
Do regular hobby growth, does regular hobby interaction, eBay interaction, translate or have any correlation to that of big people coming in, whales coming into the hobby? Or is that a separate, like,
Over
how do we get
time,
whales?
over time, over time, but not in a single signature auction. It takes time for people to like first of all be okay with grading games. Like, yeah, I mean, you still hear the, Job's WATA scam, this and that, but clearly not as much as before, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. It's like grading games are no longer on top of mind, right? Like before, even though people were hating it, everyone knew what WATA was.
Yep.
But I feel like people now, like people have forgotten almost what graded games are because clearly people no like the Waterford collection, right? People were sending sticker sealed Donkey Kongs to GameStop. And
Yep.
then the game store got it, and now they're gonna like make easily six figures on it. If people knew about it, they would just be like, okay, maybe I should send it to Heritage, right?
So,
So
do we need a new episode of Pawn Stars?
I we don't need Pawn Stars, we just need
Like,
time,
where do the
man.
whales come from? Is my question then. Is like,
The whales come from other hobbies. Like it's gonna be very hard to convert like regular gamers who collect carts or just CIBs to want graded. Like I think it's a lot easier for people from other hobbies that understand what grading is, like let's say graded TCG, like Pokemon card investors or something. They understand, oh, graded adds value, graded adds like security and they're okay with it. And then they be like, "Oh, video games are cool. I've always played it as a kid, so I want to jump in." I think it just takes more time for people from other hobbies to come in. But the only way for them to come in is if they see these big sales, right? Otherwise,
yes.
if nothing happens, there's no headlines. They're not going to be like they're like what's a graded game?
Yeah, I do feel like a lot of the super high ultra end stuff, like even say 20,000 and above, is a bit of a chicken and the egg problem. Where if you want
Yeah,
people who have a certain amount of money, like millionaires, let's just say as a blanket statement, if you want those people to take interest in buying ultra high end stuff, there has to be like momentum in prices. Stuff has to be going up,
yeah.
stuff has to be happening, or else it's like, well, why would I bother with a video game for $5,000 when I can buy stuff worth 40, 50, 60 in other hobbies where there's a ton of movement, a ton of interaction, a ton of people. But if those people don't purchase games, if prices don't go up, like, yeah, the chicken and the egg, which one has to come first? The people or the
It's
prices?
not it's not even that. They're just not even going to hear about video games, graded games. Like it's no
Yeah.
longer top of mind, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
they
that's what I'm saying. The
you ask
people are the
people now.
prices. People are prices. Which
Yeah.
one comes first?
I mean, the price has got to go up first in order for the headlines to get people in here.
But
I mean, you
without
have the
people, the prices don't go up.
but you have the odd and end person who's like, oh, I've always wanted to collect games, so I'm gonna come in. Like we've had new people like that in your Discord,
Yep.
but
Yep.
for more of the whales coming from other hobbies, they're just gonna need to be like, they need to see like, oh, $1 million Mario sale, and then people are like, oh, what is that? And then people can crap on it all they want, but then all you need is one or two to be like, oh, okay, maybe this is actually something. That's what happened in July 2021. There was a
Yep.
crescendo all the way up to that.
Yep.
It doesn't
Yep.
happen out of nowhere. So when all these people are like, yeah, we want the low to middle and mid end to be good, which I would say it's still pretty healthy, right? You would say like the $1,000 to $10,000 game area is still pretty healthy. Like it happens all the time on eBay. It seems to like be picking up in Steam, but that doesn't move headlines. That doesn't bring new like big big end new people to come in. You need
Yep.
headlines. So that's
Yep.
why that's why these big sales do matter for everyone.
Well, there's still like I saw Heritage and stuff still putting out like Mario 3 Left Bros 100K, the CGC Red like 100 and some K, which it's like in layman or to a casual observer, monster sales, right? Mario 3 for
Yeah.
$100,000, monster sale. So like, it could just be that we are delusional. That
Yeah,
those are high
perhaps.
enough sales or big enough headlines to get the people. We just are ahead of everyone else essentially.
I think you're right in that we put too many parallels to other hobbies because we see these other hobbies like continued growth. But when you're someone new and you're just like, oh, 100K for Mario Bros, oh, that's pretty big. But you don't know that like in 2023, a 9.4 A plus Left Bros sold for 108.
Yeah,
So that you don't have that comparison.
yeah,
It's like, wait, a 9.6 should be,
yeah. In a
at least
two-year time
50%
span,
more or something like
in
that.
a two-year
Yeah.
time span, Left Bros is still showing a lot of weakness on between sales,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's not translated in the 100K headline, which is kind of interesting.
No. But you don't expect new people to understand that. It's just people like us who and other people in your Discord to follow the market to be like, oh,
Yeah, so
this signature really didn't like take off like we
and we could
expected.
be being too harsh then. We could be being too harsh.
No, no, no. Games are dead, man. Let's be real. It's high end is no bueno. High end's
In a
no
more
bueno.
general sense, then, like just stepping away from that for a second, the signature is now concluded. What's your takeaway on the market and as general sentiment? FOMO, casual, accumulation? Like, where are you at? What are you thinking now that we've.
Same as since 2023. I'd still think that was the bottom, but we were hoping for something more and we didn't get it. So I think it's just more of the same like this. Even almost like an even flat line. I don't see any momentum up. I mean, for some games, maybe they can go like down more, but I overall I think it's just people are buying what they want to buy and they don't got a FOMO and they don't gotta, feel like they're missing out on anything.
That's kind of my biggest takeaway too here. I will say, like coming out of February, right, with that signature, I had that little bit of FOMO building in me where it was like, oh man, if we build on what February did, if we see continuation in an upward swing here, some stuff will become unaffordable for me. There was that inaffordable. There was that sense of FOMO hitting me, especially with the Mario, right? I'm trying to get the $10,000 one. It's like, man, if we upswing, I will not be able to purchase it. It's simply going to become out of my price range. After watching now the signature here, I would say I'm much more relaxed again. Even with something
What
like
was
Super Mario
the
Bros. Go ahead.
what was the Mario that sold in the SIG? What was the
9.4
grade?
B plus for 8,700, I believe. So yeah,
Hmm.
okay, B plus isn't good, right? 9.4 is good. It
Yeah.
probably shouldn't break above 10,000, but I was sitting there
Yeah.
watching it, almost like praying it doesn't break above 10,000, fully thinking that it could break above just based on what we saw, right? As the auction
Yeah.
started going, as the auction was running, it's like, okay, it probably won't just based on where we're at type of thing.
Hey, I think the this might sound like copium, but I think Memorial Day weekend definitely did impact it as well. I know like you're talking about Hopper Game Gallery. He apparently now Heritage they combine the bidders plus bids number of bids together into one number. And I think it came out to like 7,000 something, but that's what like three like what was it 374
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
The previous signature was added up to like 6,000 something that had like 150 less games. So it tells you that number one,
Yeah.
there wasn't as much action, and that probably means that there weren't as many bidders,
Yeah, you would think with a lot more
right?
games, we should see more bids and more bidders both.
Yeah.
A lot more.
It only went up like 1,000. Like
Like
whatever the
10%,
combined number only went up by
15%,
like, yeah.
20%,
It,
something like
when it
that.
should be like at least 50% more, right? That's what you would think.
That's it's interesting. It's interesting. Like it
Yeah.
sounds like quick cope to just be like, oh, if not for Memorial Day weekend, like this hobby would be would be. I'm
Alive
Canadian. I
again.
didn't even celebrate it. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
If not
You
for
didn't know.
Memorial Day weekend, the thing is like we talk about all this price action, what's happening, speculation, all this investment stuff. But if you are truly trying to buy stuff, if you are still collecting in this market, the results of the signature, everything that happened, should be a good thing for you. Like this is a good thing. You have time, I guess, or you can participate in this hobby. I would say coming off of this 2025 so far, you can participate at your own pace. Some stuff is going to move, make no mistake. We have seen you were talking too, right? You said very flat, very
Flatline,
neutral.
yeah.
There are some things now from 2024 where we are seeing fatigue. I think we talked about that a lot in the other video there. Fatigue is what we're seeing for games that keep coming up at the same time. We see 2024 comps now that are selling 2025, sorry, is now selling lower than 2024 on some games. And obviously it's not everything. That's the also really tricky part now as we become a far less speculative overall marketplace. When it was all like rising tide lifts all boats, when that's what was happening, or when the tide was lowering all throughout 2021, 2022, everything was coming down, right? It's very easy to make these blanket statements. I think now we are seeing far more market segmentation than we've ever seen within this space. And then even within, say, NES, for example, we're seeing game segmentation where the rares, some of the stuff that never comes up, is actually seeing some decent price action. And even within those, some are not seeing decent price action. I think like Kid Clown was $10,000. The Scoon kind of exploded. Times of Lore sold for like $12,000, being a pop one or whatever it was. More and more here, are we seeing the pendulum kind of swing back towards collectors games and more rare, the niche stuff, as we see more and more supply of some of the more popular games hitting?
If the hobby doesn't grow, then yeah, it's just gonna keep continuing because people like you and me, okay, you don't have your SMB one, you have your Celeste, I get it, but like I have my SMB one. I think
I
most people
played
already
Celeste.
have
I
their
played it. I played it.
good,
Now
good for you,
I can
good
confidently
for
say
you.
greatest game ever made. I'm not even a fake gamer anymore.
Okay, good for you. But I feel like most people, if they want SMB one, they probably already have one. Like no matter what the condition is, of course you can always upgrade on condition, but they already have it, right? So if another one comes up, like are they really gonna buy another one? We don't have dealers like that in this hobby anymore. Or at least we don't have dealers of that like price point. I don't think people are gonna keep buying $10,000 games over and over and over again.
We have the titles of
So
the world. We have the dealers, which is why I talk differently here about the 1 to 1,000, because that's where even I can act as a dealer. I'll buy something for
yeah.
100, $200 if I just think it's genuinely undervalued.
Yeah, but like for $10,000, we don't have those type of people. So that's why if it keeps coming up, then maybe you can finally get your S&P one for a decent price if you sell off your Celeste.
Is that one of the things where truly right now in this market, we just have like very, very low levels of speculation investment at all?
That I mean, obviously the people who are spending six figures, they're in it for investment, right? But I think I would imagine that the people who spend that much money also realize that they're gonna have to hold this for a few years. It's not an instant flip. It's not like modern sports cards where you can flip it for like double if they get called up from AAA for baseball or whatever. So um I do feel like the people who are investing at that price point would realize that it's going to be a few year hold
So
for sure.
something like, Kid Clown at 10K or NBA Elite 11 at 25,000. Speculation, investment, collecting. What kind of people are those, do you think?
I think those are collectors.
Me
Because
too. Me
yeah,
too.
because like what's the upside for a Kid Clown? Like what type it's like a tier 5 game, right? It's just like it's known as an NES rarity game,
Yeah, but
but that's it.
as we see now though, right, with these games who are if people who are coming in or let's say new entrants aren't as quick as they otherwise could be, right? So we have this pool of people who are already in the hobby. So now me and you know everything about the Marios, the Zeldas, the Contras, we already have the Pokemons, and now we're learning more about the NES library. So does focus shift from those games towards stuff like Kid Clown from the people who are already existing? We talk about what's the upside to Kid Clown, but okay. And I think this is the point Sean was really making in his market. Reserved investments, if you saw, he was really emphasizing Sega Saturn. Those are great deals, right? They're very rare games. Panzer Dragoon Saga. That's kind of his niche. That was his bias. Because instead of needing, let's just say 500 people to boost the price of Mario Bros. 1, you need 5 people to boost the price of Panzer Dragoon Saga because there are only 10. I'm making up numbers, so you get what I mean.
Yep. I mean, those are collector games,
Yeah,
right?
but
Like what's
does
the
that give
upside for
Kid
Panzer Dragoon
Clown a
Saga?
safer floor or anything moving forward? Because there's only what? How many Kid Clowns are on the pop report? Six? Three?
Hey, with each passing year,
Look at
there's gonna be
Scoon!
less and
Look
less
at
people.
Scoon!
Yeah,
Are
but
we going to
Scoot
see
is
more
like
Scoons? Not Scoon the game literally, but are more games going to kind of take on a level of Scoon?
yeah, but Scoot was always known as like, dude, there's none sealed,
Well,
right?
think
There's
about
like
five to
literally
ten
less than a
years.
handful.
5 to 10 years
Yeah,
in this hobby, right? Assuming we grow, expand, more people join. One of one Scoon. What's the difference of a three of three? Kid Clown.
I mean I feel like those are always be collector games. I don't see it. I don't see like okay, there's gonna be a segment of people who comment who really just want the rare stuff. But they're not the type of people that pay up for like, 20, 30K for a K clown. They're just gonna want it at their price. When people are spending those kinds of money, they want to see a return. Like there are very few people out there who are willing to spend 20, $30,000 and like don't care if it goes down. So when people are buying the Kid Clown, most people that's why it's a 10K game. It used to be a 20K game. Now it's a 10K game. If the next one comes out, maybe like yeah, a true collector wants it, but they're only willing to pay 5K. They're
So
not
the
willing to pay up
pendulum
for those
is
big.
not swinging back towards rare and niche.
No, I think for collectors they were always
Overall
wanted, but
market. Where's the pendulum? Are we rare or are we still in the most popular, most biggest franchises.
Yeah, it's still the popular stuff, man. Like, why don't you why maybe you should buy the K Clown instead of SMB one. Would you do that?
Yeah,
Would you
I
do
would not,
that?
right? I would not. But
Exactly.
it's
Okay.
funny or interesting, I guess, anyway, when you see someone like Reserved Investments who really touts himself, market expert, all that stuff, and he's really leaning towards like, oh, whoever picked up Panzer Dragoon Saga, man, you paid a great price. I think it was like $3,600. One of the nicest copies that have come up, but it was also
That is a
even
good price
relative to
though.
like other sales, it wasn't cheap. There was nothing cheap about it.
It was a good sale. I think that's a pretty decent price
Me
for
too. I thought it was
the
like
game.
very much like fair market value. Like I don't think anyone walked away like buyer and seller can both be happy type of thing. But I wouldn't look at that and say like, oh boy, whoever bought Panzer Dragoon Saga, like that is two
But
thumbs up.
that's all he only knows about Sega Saturn. He doesn't know about Atari variants. He doesn't know about Nintendo Power variants. He doesn't know about any variants. He just knows what he likes, which is the Snatchers, the rare Saturn games. He probably liked the was it the Magic Grey Earth, like those type
Yep,
of games.
sure did.
Burning Rangers or whatever, like I didn't watch the video, so I don't know what we talked about, but like
Yep.
you could name off all the Saturn Grails and he probably thinks all of them are great because innately he's like, this is what I like, so other people must like it too.
Well,
And people do, but it's a collector game. It's different.
it
Like,
leans on that rarity thing that I was really pushing there. It
yes,
leans on that rarity narrative. You only need
yeah.
10 people to pump the price of Panzer Dragoon Saga. You need 100 to pump Mario.
In the long term, it's not going to win out. Sorry. I think with each passing year, more people are going to forget that Panzer Dragoon Saga was a great game. With
That
each passing year, less people are going to know that Kid Clown was a NES Grail.
You have you read Seth also who talks about like an specialization continuing as we go past the years. Like you're saying more and more people are going to forget about these games, and his argument, I'm paraphrasing,
Yeah.
is going to be that more and more people are going to learn about these games as we become a more specialized hobby
Where
and
are they going to learn it from?
from
That's
people
the
who are
thing.
in.
But
Like as it
there's
becomes
no
more
central
historical,
source.
people learn deeper knowledge instead of
Yeah, but
less
that's
knowledge.
that's like 50 years from now, bro. We're not even close to that. We're not even close to that.
Okay.
Like if historical truly mattered, Atari games should be worth a lot more.
Pac-Man sold for 6 grand. How's that? Not bad.
Not bad, but for it being a first print highest top of pop grade, there should be more if it actually mattered.
Sean said that was case fresh. Cases exist out there. What do you think? Are cases of first print
Sure.
Pac-Man out there?
I'm sure he had tons. That's why there's so many on the pop report. The dude doesn't know what he's talking about. That's why there's like no reason to even talk about it. He doesn't know anything about variants about games because he's a generalist. He doesn't know the stuff that we do.
I wanted
Okay,
to bring
maybe
it up
there are
because
case packs. Maybe there are case packs, but they're not showing up on the pop report. Maybe they're like, people have it in a warehouse somewhere.
that's my
Possibly.
thing is if Atari first prints were truly case fresh, if there were cases out there, we saw Pac-Man selling for like $10,000, it just sold for $6,000, people would be grading them. Period. I bring up the segmentation. I bring up Sean Reserved Investments because, like I said, going through there, the auction results even PS1 decent, not much issue. We talked about Sega Saturn there a good amount, not much issue at all. A lot of the prices were honestly high. I would even say on Sega Saturn, Sega CD, there was like Dark Wizard 99, I think, or 98, $2,000. Those prices were honestly very decent. What do you think of the Genesis sales? If I can ask you quick, Golden Axe was like 18,000, and Ghouls and Ghosts was 18,000.
I mean, those are rare Genesis games. I think they deserve that. I think, like you said, the pendulum is swinging towards rarity now. But I think over a long term, yeah, I'm sure collectors bought those. I'm pretty sure collectors bought those. I don't think speculators are buying Golden Axe or Ghouls and Ghosts.
I agree with you, but I thought they were very like I don't think those are weak sales whatsoever. Personally, I was like,
No, I think they're strong. I think they're
that's
quite
why
strong
it's
given what the
hard.
signature was.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to sit here now, and that's I guess the point I want to say. It's just hard to sit here and say, oh, it was a weak signature. I don't think that's an accurate representation.
Let's put it like this. Anything under $20,000 was pretty strong. Anything over was weak. That's it.
I
And
think I would move that
high
down.
end,
I think I would even
huh?
say anything over 10 wasn't great.
Okay,
I think
sure.
that would be where I would put the mark
Yeah.
there. And like I said, I want to hear more from you guys as well about eBay and the 1 to 1,000. I guess maybe we should make it that a video soon as well here, talking about the 1 to 1,000 range, where frankly, I don't think there's any speculation or very little at this point. Very little investment down there. It's just people having fun. Maybe the most organic part of the market that exists right now. One other thing I do want to talk about you here, though, with the like you mentioned Memorial Day weekend. How do you feel about the economic climate? Was it positive for the signature? Negative? Could that have been the
I mean,
effect?
there's basically a V-shaped recovery. So yeah, I mean, people can always say, "Oh, crypto's down, crypto's up."
Yeah, yeah.
In the
Bitcoin was
end,
tipping all time high almost into this auction.
in in the end, I think you just need more market participants. Uh, sure, yeah. There's definitely always economic uncertainty, especially with all the crazy terrorist stuff going on. But that doesn't affect other hobbies. You know why? Because other hobbies have a lot more participants than we do.
When you say
That's
other
why.
hobbies, what do you mean? What are you seeing in other hobbies right now?
Sports cards. Sports cards like 90s Jordans are like literally all-time highs, even past pandemic highs. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Pokemon, yeah. There's okay, besides like A6 Fleer Jordans, that was a crazy sale, but like actual rare 90s Jordan cards are all past 2021 pandemic highs.
I didn't
All of
realize.
them.
I didn't realize sports was doing that good.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I know
and that's
Pokemon.
the biggest pop culture collectible in the overall collectible space. So they're doing fine.
I think I just saw vintage PSA 10 Holo Gengar 2 Fossil was like $9,000 now for the 10. That is,
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive that's
I
higher than
mean,
pandemic. That's
yeah,
higher.
and obviously Pokemon is doing, great too. So yeah, yeah, okay, I'm sure the economic climate didn't help, but if we just had like, five more people who had some money in here, that wouldn't be a problem.
I think I agree with you just because now we are seeing such separation. And this, goes back to the parallels between hobbies. If we're emphasizing too much that we could or should be like other ones, is that other hobbies in this climate right now, whether you think there's so much uncertainty, people aren't spending, people aren't doing whatever they are, other hobbies are exploding.
Yep.
So
Just not us. Games
the
are dead, and that's it,
yeah,
man.
the tariffs, the stock market, the
Doesn't matter. It doesn't
cryptocurrency,
matter.
it's
Doesn't matter.
not strongly correlated. It could be such a way that if everything's at all-time highs, games will see an effect. I sure, right? I will agree with that statement. And if
Okay. What I would add on to that is the reason why in the pandemic stuff started going nuclear was because sports card people, comic people were all coming in. And the reason why they came in was because they were even outpriced by how crazy expensive sports cards and comics were. So that's where they're like, okay, I gotta buy something else, so let's buy games.
so
So
we are
when you're saying
forever
everything goes up, they have to be priced out of their own hobby in order to come in here.
we are forever
Dude,
going
that's
to
what
be
happened to
the
VHS too. That's what happened to VHS too, right? Like there are some game people like, oh, games are way too expensive, so let's start pumping VHS. It's a
games are the
trickle down
lagging
effect.
indicator. That's it. We're
Yes.
gonna so
Yeah,
in
we're
three to
very
six
lagging.
months. In 3 to 6 months, we should be doing great. Like Bitcoin has been on an all-time high. Like sports cards, Pokemon explodes. We'll get there in 3 to 6 months.
You need them to be priced out in order to be like, oh, and I need to look somewhere else. Or you need new participants, which is obviously the best answer, but
Yeah,
where
the
are they going
best
to come
answer
from?
is organic growth. Yes, that is
Yes.
the
And I
best
think we're
answer.
seeing that. I think we're seeing that from like the low to mid end, but it takes time to graduate to the high end. The reason why people are buying like the $1,000 games is because that's what they can afford. It's
That's
very
why I
hard
play.
for people to get
Yeah.
50K games,
Yeah,
50
as much as anyone
K
might want it
games.
to happen, there's literally just like even if I wanted to buy them, I can't. I literally can't.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk to I think we're gonna have Monty on right away here, so we'll get a lot more talk about the eBay side, and that'll probably be the next video actually. We'll talk about the eBay side, I think. How's that market
Yeah.
looking? The expansion of the hobby, everything growing there. So definitely put your thoughts down below. How is the signature? How do you feel about the hobby right now? Are we growing, expanding? Is it shrinking? Do you think there's less interest right now than we were seeing before? Let us know all thoughts down below. Videogames@ha.com to reach out, speak to a consignment expert. You can get into the August signature auction. Huge thanks to them sponsoring. Huge thanks to you guys listening. Hit the like button, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys next week.